Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Coffee at Rosevine Cottage. Take a moment, grab a cup of coffee, like the video, and then we're going to dive right in. It's hard to recognize the importance of something in the midst of the season we're walking through. It's hard to see the reason we had to journey through some of the places we've been to. Sometimes we find ourselves like the Israelites, wandering around in the desert, and the promised land seems so far away. Day after grueling day, they trekked for 40 years before they came to the place they'd been promised. The Bible says that the people started to grumble. They started to doubt. They wanted to go back to what was familiar because at least they knew back there what to expect. Their basic needs were going to be met back there. They'd been walking around following a pillar of fire and a pillar of cloud. Read Exodus 13:12. But now they were hungry and the excitement was wearing off, so they began to complain. But if we back up a chapter, the complaining really started 3 days into the desert excursion. They were running low on water, and when they came to a spring called Mara, they couldn't drink because the water was bitter. And they found that they couldn't drink it, so they started to grumble. Literally, at the beginning of this chapter, they are singing about how great God was, that they had watched him part the Red Sea so they could walk through on dry ground. They still had salt water clinging to them, and yet they're grumbling. In the following verses, Moses cries out to God, and God makes the water drinkable. And then he leads them to an oasis with 7 springs. So often we get caught up in what we need right now, that we start to doubt that he will provide. We forget the miracles we've seen on the way to this place. We lose sight of the dry ground that we just walked through while God held back the waves. Instead, we see the endless sand and the sun beating down. We see the water we've brought with us getting low, and we start to wonder if God will see us through this time. It's not so much if God can bring life to the bitter water, but if he will bring life to the bitter places in our own lives. If he'll fix what's broken in us. It's not if he can pull back the water so that we can walk on dry ground, because for some reason that feels easy. But will he sustain me when the water runs dry and the destination seems so far away and I don't understand why I'm walking this road? Is he still going to be there when I get to the other side and I don't recognize me anymore? It's not, can he bring something good from the season, but will he? He was the same God that parted the water back there, the same God that brought them out of slavery, that changed Pharaoh's heart. He didn't change, but the people's perspective had. Sometimes we've got to walk through the desert so that we learn to walk in step with God, like the Israelites. They didn't move until God moved. Whenever the pillar or the cloud or the fire stopped, is where they stopped. And when it went on, they went on. When we're in the moment, it's hard to recognize the lesson. All we see are trillions and trillions of grains of sand and the endless sun beating down, and we feel the hunger pains begin to grow. But the place we've been promised seems so far away, and we start to wonder, will anything good come from this season? Can anything good come out of this failing marriage, my prodigal child, and the mistakes I've made? Can anything good come from the pain and discomfort I'm feeling? Can anything good come out of my disappointment? We grow frustrated with our speed. We want to get where we're going and we want to get there now. But we don't realize that the reason we're walking through the desert is that he knows that we're not ready for what's on the other side. We're not strong enough yet to face those battles. There are lessons we need to learn back here so that we don't falter up there. There are some things that he needs to deal with in us before we can move on. Maybe the reason we're still wandering in the desert is that he's trying to break that self-reliant streak that raises its head when we don't like the pace or the terrain we're traveling through. We need to learn back here what will only make sense up there. We have to rely on him so that when the battle comes and all we see is the enemy, we're ready. So that when we are in the midst of the storm, we remember that he will make a way. He will see us through. We may fail, our arms may grow weary, and our feet may stumble, but he never will. And when we can't fight the battle, when the winds and the waves are too strong for us to fight, He'll fight them. But the lesson starts in the dry season, compounded by mile after mile of waiting. When I was a kid, I was a horrible traveler. I admit it. 5 minutes into any drive, I'm sitting in the back seat. Are we there yet? How about now? Are we there yet? How about now? Are we there now? And my parents had to remind me over and over to sit back and trust that they knew where they were going. God knows where we're going. This maybe it feels like it's new to us, but this is ancient history to Him. He's been here and done it. The way to our destination is rarely easy, but it is a training ground. It's our training ground. It's in this holding pattern of waiting and following and maybe not understanding that we grow, that we learn some things that we're going to need when He brings us to the place He has promised. The journey is preparing you for what He has prepared you for. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video really blessed you. Would you take a moment, like it, share it with your friends, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And join us again next week.